Okay. Now we'll be careful about what I say now.
Yeah, we can talk about toilet paper. That's fine.
Are we live now?
We should be live now.
Okay, then. Then
Instagram.
everybody. So everybody missed the good stuff, and I can start watching what I say. All right.
Yeah, we
So,
were just looking up the etymology of the word woman, and we found out that it starts with "wif man," WIF, with which is like wife. Actually, Jim, it's like wife.
yeah, it is.
WI
That's where that was the
wife.
root for wife. Yeah. Just trying to
Interesting.
figure it all. We want to make sure that women are fairly represented. For real. That's why
I
we
didn't know.
started
Yeah,
discussing it.
I didn't know that was a thing.
Well, it's like you have man and then just something else added onto the word man to describe what isn't. And I want to make sure it's not offensive.
Yeah, well, like
And
mankind is actually humankind.
yeah,
It's not mankind; it's humankind.
yeah, that's been making the gradual switch over. That's pretty comes off the tongue pretty easily. So your the sativa cross Rick's birthday fundraiser will have another $20 in it and be up to $90. You got a you got a sativa cross birthday fundraiser going on.
Oh, yes, from Rick.
Yeah.
How's he feeling?
He's feeling okay. It's he's feeling okay. He stretched out the um, amount of RSO he had to like right about now, and he's actually really feeling better in many ways. But you can't feel like cancer terribly sometimes. And he's pretty happy about it. So instead of trying to figure out how to say thank you, he thought I told him, hey, I don't know if you know about what a Facebook birthday fundraiser is, and he'd never even really paid attention or knew about it. He doesn't have a long list of Facebook friends. Actually, his friends on Facebook are friends off Facebook too. So he's older school than me by a year and a half. Wednesday, Wednesday on Monday.
Hey guys.
How are how are you faring these days?
I'm good, thank you.
Good, good.
Starting my reopen art dispensary Thursday.
Ah,
Been in training.
administrating. Oh,
Yeah, been in training, and then we have one little quick day of training Wednesday. Then we soft open Thursday, and we grand open Friday. Food trucks, if you want to come down and grab lunch.
where is this?
Blackwood, College Drive.
I almost feel like I should stop by if I can't. I do have a calendar these days though. There's enough going on in my life where I almost heard, I better check the calendar. I mean, physically go look at the calendar.
Friday lunch will be there 12 to 4.
Friday's band practice day.
No, for the grand opening.
No, I mean that's my one day I don't go out.
Well,
If previous weekly.
you want to come out Thursday? We're like they call it a soft open because we haven't dealt with real product or real customers at this
Right.
point. So
That's
kind of like it's our test. It's our stress test.
yeah. Well, it's a good idea to have a soft opening.
Yeah, I have every bit of confidence. This crew I'm working with is great. Do you remember?
I hope so.
Remember smoking Dexter Jones?
Sounds familiar.
Right, little cans.
No.
So anyway, well, I was getting them. I got them from Anthony Poole. I got them from Jay at one time. I met the girl. I met Dexter Jones. So she's like a New Jersey grower that's diving into the legal market, I guess, to learn it from the ground up.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
It's the best way to learn it.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody's cool. I'm excited to get back to work and earn some money and do what I like to do. Not really work when you're discussing weed with people all day.
Yeah, I know. I'm
So
always a bit envious of people who have a job they like going to, because
I
you know,
do. I do enjoy it.
there was times I didn't mind going to work, but being a carpenter in the winter and the summer means half of the time it's a weather concern, and I don't like sweating and passing out. And I don't like freezing to where I can't feel my hands, and I don't like the long drive each way to where I had to work. And it's just like one big didn't like, you know, and except when I was, working for myself, it was still hot and cold and whatever, but that was uh, that was fun while not physically fun. There was something about kind of get a certain amount of work done because you got paid a certain amount for doing it. And the way we'd work our day is we'd set goals every 2 hours. Yeah, 2 hours from now, I think we can be this far. I'd be really happy with that. And if it was 10, 15 minutes early, we'd take off 10 or 15 minutes until it became that time. And then we'd have our next goal. And then if we weren't on, we just didn't take that extra break. Otherwise, we just, where you could work long days and 12 hours and be physical enough to do it. Yep. And I didn't have edibles then, and I found edibles to be a huge, huge help when I have chores to do. You know, now back to spring and spring chores, the little things like miracle miracle growing all the ornamental bushes, and then dutifully helping them have water. I love that shit.
Ooh, ooh. No to it, terpenes.
I really like that.
Phew.
So I don't really have an agenda for the evening, but there are some events coming up this week. On Thursday is the Hot Box for Home Grow.
No hot box though. Let's be fair. Let's be fair.
Well, we could call it Hop
Yeah.
for Home Grow.
Well, no, I'll probably be there parked early enough
Mm.
right by it. You know,
Mm.
I could just say go sit in the car. It's right there. It's a hot box. Wherever two or more people gather, you may have a hot box.
We could change the name to Honk for Home Grow.
Yeah, we usually end up having people out there getting people to honk. So
But you never know.
yeah,
Chris Goldstein might bring the tent. Who knows?
yeah. Well, we'll just say he was supposed to and blame it all on him.
That's a great idea. Blame Chris Goldstein.
Yeah,
He gets
he's
a
got
pass because he gets a pass.
he's got a lot of political capital he can waste now that he's Chris, the guy
Yeah.
that met with Vice President.
Yeah, he can do whatever
People
he
will
wants.
people will forgive him for forgetting the hot box, and so will we.
Sorry, no problem, Chris. We know you forgot the hot box. That's okay. We'll be like, what? It's okay. We understand. You were busy with the vice president. We get it. You forgot.
The guy I got an email from a guy named Ian, and real quick I realized it was I hadn't talked to him in 2 years or so, but he was one of the people I was writing letters for, and he's going to really try hard to get there because he's not working Thursdays now, and he wants to come to one of the things he saw the last one and it looked real fun, and of course that was the hot box one, wasn't it? But they're all fun, and so I looked up awesome. I mean, this is somebody who's motivated to help, and everybody counts. Somebody else, and I with great anxiousness wanted to remember what district he's from, and then I was disappointed to find out it was my district with Senator Holsapple at the helm. So I broke it down today. It's not like I was bored, but I thought it might be good to know how many legislators uh, had a vote on our original bill law in 2009, the one that got passed, the one that got Homegrown yanked out, the one that started all that. Our program began then. How many of the 120 legislators were legislators then? And the number is 31. So only 1/4 of legislators were there for the history of medical cannabis provisions being instituted in New Jersey. Only 1/4. Combined with the fact that outside that 1/4, we have 27 freshmen legislators out of 120. So that means only 31 were here then, and of the ones that are there now, 27 are during the first term. So I think I want to see if I can at least, I guess I can. I mean, it's email. I can email my 460-word history of how we got to where we are now with medical cannabis and no homegrown provisions in New Jersey. It's not long for a history of what's really relevant, but it's fairly well written. And I don't know how anybody can have much of an opinion on things if they don't know how it all started and began and what got us to this, what I call problem. And then try to switch the story to looking for validation of our outlier status by those who do not want to change it. Then they should have to explain to patients, because this is a healthcare bill. They should have to explain to patients in understandable terms why they think New Jersey's better off not having patient home grow than the states that do, and by comparison. And that can't be done. I'm sure there's some things that can be brought up that won't, I mean, it's like in Colorado when they said all they were doing out there caused a big homelessness problem. That's because people just went out there without jobs to be in Colorado, couldn't, and then didn't have money and were basically homeless, living however you do. And that's quite a stretch. I mean, it's not like, well, that's why you shouldn't do this sort of thing, because people will want to be in your state so bad, they'll just go there without really concern of where will they find housing. That's ridiculous to base any legislative.
Have you been to Colorado, though, Jim?
What's that?
Have you been to Colorado? It's there. The homeless is a real problem.
I know, but to blame it on cannabis law.
Oh, well, I agree with you there.
In other words, they're blaming if somebody said there's a homeless problem.
Well, it's true though. Those kids went out there thinking they were, and the same thing happened in California.
Yeah,
but 25 years ago.
Yeah.
You had all the hippy dippies go out there thinking that they're gonna, be the next Jack Carrere. So.
Yeah. However, for that to be even remotely used as a reason that we're lucky in New Jersey to not have that problem while not having patient home grow, I would love that conversation to actually be had. There wouldn't be much you have to say to let somebody put the rope around their own neck.
Sorry, that last dab did me in.
I mean, how are we better off?
So there was one person that thought you were a little rough on Jelani Gibson, and I didn't think you were rough at all.
No, I would take.
Is he the writer?
I would love to hear specifically why, because I explained it's not your fault. But when what did he say? What was it that he got it right over here? I think saying medical marijuana patients said they are frustrated that the state law prohibits them from growing their own. Senate President Nicholas Guattari has thus far declined to push for ending the ban. My problem is he created the ban. So to say that he has declined thus far to push for ending the ban that he instituted. I mean, you just put that he originally instituted 3 years ago, or it's his ban. You know, that was a failure of journalism. And it was because when I say somebody's ignorant of facts, I don't mean they're ignorant. And when I say it's not your fault, I guess because other people have not written much about this. I mean, I don't see much about the blockade on having hearings, but see, it's talking about ending the ban, meaning it's not really a ban. It's just it's not legal. I mean, it's banned everywhere unless it's made legal. So I mean, it's really a national ban, and some states can say, well, we're not going to go with that. But it pretty well relieved the cause of the ban from any from causing it. You know, it didn't. Well, and it's also an offer to help him be more informed. And I'm thinking he probably understands exactly where it came from. You know, he it was one of the worst jobs of reporting because I know a lot about it. But if I didn't, I wouldn't see any problem with Senate President Guattari. You know, because he wouldn't be the villain in this, which, well, he is if it's to be described as being a villain. And you know, this is the Star Ledger, NJ.com. This is the Star NJ.com. You know, and Sue Livio is still there, and she's the one that assigns, as far as I know, stories, or it says, okay, go ahead, run with that if somebody requests to do something. And I'm thinking she can't have read that before it got published. I mean, she's got to know that much, doesn't she? Or yeah, you can never tell what a person knows when it's not being talked about, you know? Yeah.
I thought it brought up a good conversation.
Yeah, but I'd like to, you know, I'm fine with explaining myself to anybody about anything I write. I got no problem. It's with intent, and it's not also. I don't know. He has a responsibility. It is a healthcare issue. You know, you got to get that right. And if nothing else, maybe Jelani will think to do a follow-up and maybe choose to be more informed. I've reached out to him with my contact, offered to help anytime if I can be of help. I took out all the finger pointing, chest poking stuff. I mean, I read through it and actually modified it. So, you know, it's not your fault. It's a lot of people don't know what's going on, but he's the one writing about it. I'd want to know if I wrote something that ridiculous about something I thought that I got right. And if somebody wrote a letter and it wasn't mean-spirited, just facts. I can't help what the facts are. He's ignorant of the facts is what the facts is. A lot of people are. Scooter's fault.
No, it's a good conversation to have. We need to have this conversation. People need to know the history of this whole shit show that we're in right now.
Well, when something breaks, like medical marijuana provisions that were passed in the Senate, and that deal falls through, the people with skin in the game, some literally, like my Kessler burn victim, the people with skin in the game, I think, have a right to know what happened, why it happened, so they can prevent it from happening again in another effort. You know, if something broke, they deserve to know what it was. And to have absolutely no explanation on whose direction were the home grow provisions pulled, because it wasn't Herb Conaway making a decision as a committee head to yank it out. It was done by more than one person, or one person telling him he had to do it, as in what Bill Caruso thinks it had to do with Governor Corzine. You know, but now that I backed it up with his office to, never mind why you did it, just let us know if that impediment is still in place. In other words, is it still an issue now, 15 years later? Because it was back in his committee then, and we deserve to know that too. Yeah. Yeah, my allegiance is more towards getting things right for patients than wondering if I insulted somebody too, you know. But I'd prefer not to, because it really wasn't his fault. He just didn't know better.
Yeah, we're fighting for people that are sick and dying and suffering. So really,
withholding information to them or from them is wrong. You know, unless it's a secret and it's like, well, we got a caucus thing going here that you don't know about. I can't tell you. That's why they call it closed door. You're supposed to be on the other side, and we're keeping the door closed. And that's how we work. Now, that'd be honest. But I've never heard anybody say it. It's interesting to hear Chris talk about the cannabis caucus in Washington. I can just imagine people's staffs who would want to be the one from that congressman's staff to represent at the cannabis caucus. Because apparently, from what Chris is saying, it would be staffers gathering to talk about things. And then they ran into Chris.
and he said they're into Schedule 3 over there.
And he set him straight somewhat. I mean, he said they were listening. You know. Yeah, they didn't get insulted. They were ignorant. Yeah, I'd like to see that. The cannabis caucus. And here I am. The best I could ever get is a good picture of the joint committee room, because I always thought that was a funny sounding room. You know, the name joint committee room. Ooh. I want to be on the committee on joints.
The question has been asked. It's up on the board here. Will there be a porta potty there? There will be real bathrooms there that will be open to us at the library and at the museum.
Museum.
Yeah, museum and library, both available.
Yeah, and they're very nice there too. It's not like, oh, what do you want? You know, I understand they're quite nice at the museum.
Yes, they are.
And
they just point. They don't really do much. They just point. They know you're in there to use the bathroom. They just point the way.
So I would say my advice would be know your system and head out 5 minutes before it's an emergency, at least.
That's true, because it's just a tiny walk.
It's a walk, but it's really not that bad.
No, but you can't let yourself wait to the last minute and then try and get down there without peeing your pants. Not if you're not me, anyway. Like I already can tell you.
That's what I'm
I have to plan well in
saying.
advance. This aging bladder has had it.
I would also, because you have had them in the past, you might mention that the cost of that would be greater than the amount that Sativa Cross has on hand right now, just for that. Well, maybe for two of them.
It's like $350. We don't.
Oh, that's
Have
pretty
that
close.
much.
Then.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we don't have resources for that right now.
How much? How long does it take from a Facebook fundraiser to get the money, and what percent do you get?
I didn't receive the last one yet from
Which
February,
one
but
was
I
that?
should February for my birthday.
Oh, okay.
Got about
How
$200
about?
coming.
Yeah. How about when I had mine? Do you remember? I had
Usually about 8 weeks.
Okay.
8 weeks from when it ends.
Do you get the full amount, or do they take a commission?
They do take something out, I believe.
Yeah, I would understand. Like
The SIP is affected, right?
like PayPal takes something out
Yeah.
too.
Yeah, I think something's taken out.
Yeah. Well, the one that Brother Rick started will have $90 as soon as I get off, so Kathy can send 20. So that's something I'd like to let people know. If you're on Facebook, you can certainly help Steve Cross by using them as your 501c3 to have a birthday fundraiser for. It's easy to do on Facebook, and it takes minutes. We'd appreciate it.
I think the one time this year we're going to have to get a porta potty would be for Thanksgiving, because the bathrooms will be closed that day, and we're going to.
And it's a longer day.
And we have to get a porta potty.
Yeah.
It's a longer day.
Otherwise, we don't have the resources for that. Marina wants to do a fundraiser. Go fund me for a porta potty.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thanksgiving.
Well, for Thanksgiving porta potty, yeah, for us to,
Yeah.
Thanksgiving porta potty. Because we're going to use some funds coming up for the brochures. I'm going to make those brochures in Spanish. I have been busy lately. I haven't had a truck, and I had my kidney last week, but now I'm better, and I'll put that on my list for this week of things to do.
No, you got a full plate all the time, though.
I forget things. So tomorrow I'm going to Social Security to sign up for Medicare Part B.
Really?
Yeah. And then I'm going to get Part D. And apparently when you have all that, you can get like your gym membership paid for. It's only $10 a month, but still.
Really?
Yeah. You qualify for Medicare or Medicaid? Is it Medicaid? I forget. Part B.
Yeah. I'm sure I got whatever part that is.
You got to get Part B first, and then from there you get the drug coverage. You get like the gap insurance for like $16, $20, and you get that gap insurance, and that's what I'm going to get now.
Yeah, with Medicaid, I don't really need to do that though. Medicaid pays for absolutely everything.
Medicaid.
Yeah, but then my heirs won't get any of my estate when I die. Of course, I don't have an estate. I don't really have any heirs, so it's kind of a moot point. Yeah, I can't help that.
Yeah, Medicare Part B and Part D, and you have Medicaid. Okay, I never understood the difference. One's federal, one's state.
Yeah, one's federally subsidized state insurance. I got sidetracked checking the committee hearings for Thursday to see if there's anything interesting.
Oh, I didn't check that. How was it? How's it look?
I didn't look yet. I started looking, and then all of a sudden I ended up looking through to see how many legislators had a vote on our original bill. I get sidetracked, but it's sidetracked with something else I wanted to do. I mean, I know that 3 out of 4 people were not in the who are legislators now. 3 out of 4 weren't there for the vote because they weren't legislators in 2009.
Thursdays, all budget hearings. Paul Starlow and Linda Greenstein.
Yes, I'm sorry. I work. I can't make it.
You'll be there.
We don't have our schedules hammered out yet, but I will ask for those. Well, I'll ask to go in later, go in at 3, and then I can just still get in my day of work, and I can still get in my day of activism.
Yeah.
So I'll see what I can do.
You can eat your cake and have it too. And by the way,
I'm only there as a part-time employee, but there's only 10 of us. So I do believe that they're going to work me a lot. More, I wanted 24 hours and then said, well, that would make me easily flexible to do an extra shift or 2 4-hour shifts. I live close enough to just jet up there and do 4 hours over a busy time of day. Let's say between 5 and 4:30 and 7:30 or something, or 4:30 and 8:30, because that's the busy hours, right? It's when everybody's coming in after work, especially on a Friday. I only live 2 miles away, so I can get in there and do the work for them that way. Plus, and this is super exciting, this guy he has a manufacturing license, and we'll be seed to store. And so in Mount Holly, in an industrial park, he's going to have his grow and manufacturing and all that. So as well as me doing my 20 or 24 hours in the store, at that point I will be out doing how Brutes Roots is its own brand. But we will be too. So I'll be out going to the dispensaries oh, hey, check out our products. And so that's pretty cool.
That doesn't sound like work. It just sounds like something that's pleasant to do.
Right, Jim. Right.
Yeah. Good for you.
Yes. And I have to, say, power it out with you guys and going to expos and NECAN and volunteering with Ken and Mike. That just really helped propelled me to be able to land a spot like that where people know my names, there was, I go to networking events and they'll be Wednesday Mayor, right? I don't know how they know me, but it's cool.
Yeah, I don't get to a lot of the events for Coalition, mostly because there's plenty of volunteers to go. And even when you volunteer, it ends up costing, to get there and back and other things. And
you're spot on with that. There's definitely a cost involved in eating, driving, tolls, gas, all that comes into play. So
the Coalition would use some of their discretionary income.
They asked us if they wanted us. They wanted to take us out to dinner. We were like, nah, man. We were just beat after a long 2 days.
Yeah, I just didn't want to take money from other
stuff. I didn't want to either. I would feel terrible about them using their discretionary money to feed me. So,
but then they came up with the one that I like doing, and it was good because Michael Brennan would not be able to go to Moorestown Day to table like we've done before by himself, and nobody else seemed to be available. And Ken's going to be at a Pride event in Asbury Park the day after Moorestown Day, so he can't do both. And that's when I thought, yeah, I'll step in this time, and I'll
that Moorestown Day is great. That's a fun day.
And
it is. It's a nice town.
And not only is it a great fun day, but they have Senator Singleton and Assemblyman Conaway are both from that district, and they have a table there every year. So
in the meeting.
you want to have a big
I
thank
came
you,
up here because you were downstairs.
Senator Scutari thank you sign.
It's gonna have
You
to.
know,
I
and
mean, you can't see you.
kind of like prop him up a bit like that, and I get to go down, and I haven't caught Assemblyman Conaway there yet, and I know Mitchell's not his chief of staff anymore. But he ducked out on me last year. Last year we didn't do it because it slipped through the cracks, and we didn't have our deal in time with Morristown. And but I met Mike there because I had something to deliver to the 7th District's legislative table. And when I asked if Mitchell was here, President, yeah, he's right back. Oh, I don't see him anymore. He's around somewhere. I'm like, he saw me, son of a bitch. You know, he cut because we were going to have a discussion. And I don't mean being mean. It's like he had dodged all the questions that I had in my of the answers he was giving me about there's no will in the assembly to pass this bill. And, you know, reminding him stuff like, well, I don't care about the will to pass a bill they haven't heard. What I care about is the will to the bill for the bill to be heard. You know, then after the bill's heard, see if there's will to get it passed, you know. And he just can't, you know, there's no way to deal with it. I mean, as a chief of staff in his office has an impossible task to make it seem like this isn't important to know, you know, who took it out. But, you know, to be fair to him, the coalition itself doesn't think it makes a bit of difference to find out because it might piss him off trying, you know, and we need him. To what? We need him, but he's not been there for 15 years, you know, for what we need him for, which is to let us know what's going on. So, yeah.
There was good news on the Freedom Front. Steve Ronco and Mikey V were found. They were charged was dismissed, and they were immediately expunged. So they were arrested illegally in Lavalette by
For
the sons of the mayor.
For trying to tape or video a meeting without prior approval.
A public meeting.
Without prior approval.
They actually arrested them and stopped these two gentlemen from speaking about wheelchair accessibility and other things that they came to speak about. So there's definitely damages, and I believe they're both afraid to go back to that place. But now they're not. But they haven't gone because of the fear of being arrested again. So those
well,
are
you don't want to get arrested while the previous one hasn't been adjudicated.
Right. So they have damages. They have, I'm sure they have PTSD, being arrested, stress, and anxiety.
I wouldn't begrudge anybody saying there should be penalties as well. You know, maybe that, you know, I mean, they cost the borough of Lavalette $17,000 for their lawyers' fees. I understand.
Just a retainer.
Yeah.
There's more charges coming.
Well, they're going to need more defense counsel when they get sued.
This is true. They're going to be back down for another 17.5 on the defense now. First, he was on offense. Now the prosecutor's on defense. And I think they're going to go for 420,000. That's a good number. And we're going to go there and we're going to talk about how Wally's ego and ignorance has cost the taxpayers all this money. That's going to be a great council meeting. And the funny thing about Wally is I gave him a an hourglass many years ago. Because when you're an out of towner and you go to speak on La Valette, Wally pulls out a little tiny hourglass. That's a 2-minute hourglass, and he puts it on the top of his desk. He slams it down. So you have 2 minutes. And he always looks at the hourglass and taps it while you're speaking. He's a real jerk. A real jerk. So one day I went to Walmart, a Target, and I found an hourglass made in China. And this hourglass that's made in China has a special meaning to it. Because when you give a person from China, a glass or a timepiece, it means your time is running out. So I gave him this hourglass, and I gave it to him, the mayor, the Cicero, and he took it. And a couple of years later, I mentioned it, and he still had it. Years later, he still had it. Well, guess what? Now the time is running out. Mikey and Steve didn't just beat La Valette. Without lawyers, they went down there and clobbered them. And they're going to sue them. They're going to sue the police personally because the police lost their qualified immunity because they knew that Jersey had case law on this. Steve tried to give them the case law, and they refused it. So they lose their qualified immunity. They broke their oath to the Constitution. So Sergeant LeCicero, Sergeant Lamb, who's also a council person in Toms River, and we're going to go to that council meeting too. They're all screwed down there. They're all going to get sued, and they're all screwed. And it's a long time coming because I didn't want to go back to that town. I'm so glad these guys went back there and fought the.
Well, would you go back again?
Now I'll go back. I'll go back now.
Can I give you, if you want to have some fun going back, he's got an egg timer, right? Bring an hourglass. So he'd set up his egg timer and he'd whip out an hourglass one. And let the sands start running while you talk, you know?
Yeah, I love it.
Then he'd hold up the empty one and whatever. You know, it's sort of like they really had it coming. And originally, I know there was some worry on Mike and Steve's part that being close-knit like they are, this is a small-town politics and that it could be that way in the court system. And I had to hope. I mean, it's easy to hope when you don't have skin in the game. But I had hoped they were wrong and that actually there is a better system than their system of government in La Valette.
It's corrupt. It's corrupt.
The court
system. La Valette judge, the judge in La Valette, was not going to give them the motion to dismiss.
How did it get moved?
They had to move the venue. They had to. The prosecutor, the original prosecutor, wouldn't touch it, so they had to hire this guy Crook from out of town. Yeah. Then the judge had to be recused. So then they moved it to Mantaloking. So
did the judge recuse himself? Because you don't get recused. You recuse or you're not allowed.
Yeah, I think he had to recuse himself at some point. But he was not gonna dismiss their case. He was gonna throw the dismissal out. And this new judge, Judge Gluck from Mantaloking, he spent like 8 weeks working on this thing, and he got it right. He got their dismissal right. And he called them out for all the stuff they did wrong.
So basically, otherwise, they would have had to go through an appeals process in a different court after La Valette, which would then be more time, more money. And so let me ask you, have I got it straight that Steve said, I might have it wrong, it sounded good. And if I got it right, though, that he's represented now or
yes,
being advised by the guy that we did this, got the case in 2007.
Yeah, the ACLU is going to help out with this now. There's going to be a lot of help from organizations once this is dismissed now.
Yeah.
Now it begins. Yeah. Civil rights violations, you name it. I mean, it's just
all because Brian Cummings wanted to know were they going to get the wheelchair mats out or not.
Yes.
He just wanted to know.
This is all about wheelchairs. Yeah. Ridiculous.
But they didn't even want to tell him yes or no.
No.
They just didn't want to hear the question.
Never got to it. We still never got to that point. We never asked those questions yet. We're still fighting this fight.
Well, I hope, I think the residents of Lavalette would deserve to know what it was about, and that the mayor wasted the town's resources on the way he did, to the tune of at least 17,000, probably double that, and then maybe a judgment. Why? They need a new mayor. That'd be awesome, but I don't know. That is a small town. I mean, of year-round residents, it's not a small town so much in the summertime, but what's it got, 2,000 residents? Less?
In the summer or full-time?
No, in the off-season, full-time.
Yeah.
The registered voters there's not very many.
And be careful now. It's legal to squat in these houses now. Somebody can go into a house and squat there for a while. And if you do certain things, you can get away with it. If you like squat there and you mow the lawn, you hose down the driveway, you make friends with the neighbors, you ask where the restaurants are, you ask when recycling day is, and you become a part of it, you could squat, and they have a hard time getting people out. They're arresting homeowners. They're arresting the homeowners for going to their own house.
Well, that squatting must require that somebody always be there, because otherwise the owner could simply break into his own house and change the locks.
Possession. So that what you have to do is wait for them to leave and then go in your house, change the locks.
But if it's your house, are you not allowed in your house while they're there?
No,
it's your house.
It's
so like I could walk into an empty house and say, I'm squatting here. You have to go.
Yes, let a judge figure it out.
And then when they drag me out and beat the crap out of me, what would happen then?
Right. I mean, back in the old days, this never would have happened. Like, what are you doing here? Get out of my house. Boom, boom, boom. Get out. That's how they used to do it.
Yeah, I've been reading about it. That makes sense to me. But
it's crazy. But there's people that are out there making videos on how to do it. That's pretty crazy.
No.
Yeah. And one good thing I saw a market. It was like a supermarket, and they grew all their vegetables on the roof of this supermarket.
Really?
Yeah. I said, that's cool. I forget where it was. I just saw it in passing. I was like, that's a great idea, because I always like putting like plants on roofs.
Yeah.
Vegetables and fruit or whatever, herbs, whatever.
Can it grow on your roof?
Fresh herbs on your roof.
Yeah.
Come on, man.
Weed Man grows on his roof. He does.
He always has beautiful plants out there.
Yeah.
And he takes pictures every year. He wants you to see them. He wants you to see how beautiful it is. It looks like this. This is Weed Man's backyard right here. Beautiful thing.
You mean that's not real? Oh man.
Someday.
So what, you can't wear green when you're doing this?
No.
Yeah, one night it looked like you didn't have a neck or something because you had green on. It's pretty funny. Hey, it looks like you're not there. Oh, that's not green. You don't have green?
No green.
Yeah. Good looking field down in the valley.
Oh, but Jim, I have to do an executive session with you after this meeting.
Okay.
Just for a minute.
Okay.
I'll tell you something.
Mm-hmm. Well, I'm available.
Well, we could do it now because we really couldn't have a meeting because we don't have enough people. Well, we can't vote, but anyway. Let's go to executive.
Okay.
I can tell you what I'm. I got to, hold on.